Extra worlds, my planet, my home. Clouds too high, the fumes too strong. Add it up, don't subtract it. Lambo drop like a dragon. Can't fall asleep at night cause they attacking.
視線を横切った。
What's up, guys? It's Johnny Candito of Candito Training HQ. I posted on Instagram about visiting Texas Elite Barbell here in the Houston area, and it's owned by Mama T. So I want to give her a big shout out as it was an awesome experience. As you can see here, the equipment is really nice. I was using an Ohio power bar here, which is what I bought for the gym that I train at, the Iron Den gym. However, what you're gonna see the big difference is I was able to deadlift with calibrated plates. So of course that makes the distance a little bit reduced in terms of where the end of the last plate is versus the end of the other last plate. So it's a little bit in tighter, and this reduces the whip, which actually it did surprise me how much it reduced the whip. I work up to 525 pounds here as a hook grip single before using straps for the volume. And my goal here is going to be to deadlift 300 kilograms in this gym before the meet. That is my plan.
Hold up, take a moment, count my guap. All these racks bumming in, they bumming in. Hold up. Put up in a drop top, she dropped it. I put up in a drop top, she dropped it. My diamonds dancing hot skies, they hold it. My diamonds dancing hot skies, they hold it.
Okay, yeah, the beat was supposed to continue playing with that hidden in it, so okay, now it's back. That's great. Just go. All right, I got a lot to talk about here. First things first is I am wearing a medium shirt, both for this shirt and then for the Think Deep Squat Deeper shirt, which will be shown shortly after this bench session here. And both of them, they fit true to size. So they're not exactly the same shirt, by the way. Neither of them are. And versus this one on the official design versus the previous one had a short waist and it had longer sleeves, whereas this has a longer waist and definitely shorter sleeves. So more of a normal fit. You know, again, I usually wear mediums. Actually, I always wear mediums. This is a medium. This fits well. So of course, since I am arching, my waist is showing a little bit, you know, my little tub belly there. But you know, when I'm wearing it normally, that doesn't happen. So onto bench. One thing that I've been doing now is increasing volume a little bit. Basically, this is like an introductory cycle because I have not been benching 5 days a week, not been doing that. This is leading into that. And unfortunately, that really is the only way that I get stronger on this style of benching. And I say unfortunately because honestly, I don't want to bench 5 days a week year round. So that's why I pick my spots on when I'm trying to focus on it. And something else you'll notice technically is I tend to over tuck my elbows when I'm not that prepared for the bench press. So you'll see on this 10 sets of 3, I actually gradually am flaring them out later on. And I think that's okay because if I force flaring them before I'm ready, then of course that can become a little bit of a shoulder hazard. But after this benching, I went straight to high bar squatting, which went really well. So you'll see in this, I actually restrict the knee travel a little bit. I would say a little bit excessively, whereas in the opening clip, I would say I had a little bit too much forward knee travel. And that's just from relearning the lift and continually just finding that groove, because I have to find a position. Ideally, I can be as upright as possible, but I also have to find a position that I can maintain in the sticking point. So it's a matter of consistency of the knee position more than anything. And also, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Jason Blaha for recognizing how I am taking this approach very seriously and making sure that I stay healthy and rebuild my squat up properly. You know, I actually thought that when he made a video on me, it was a decent while back, I thought it was going to be pretty negative, admittedly, when a buddy of mine linked it, but it was, you know, really positive, and it's something that I appreciate, because the thing that's tough about social media is the more you show concern for your health, the more people think you're hurt. When I want to make it extremely clear that I have not had a single day in the past 8 months where I've woken up and actually felt worse in the morning than I did the previous day. So there's been 0 flare-ups to that level. Now, of course, every now and then it feels a little bit tight, things like that. But absolutely nothing that's like a true tweak. And going into this deadlift, here you see that I'm a little bit lethargic in my setup, I guess you'd say, but that's just from general fatigue. And you can tell when I get a little bit lazy that I start with my hips slightly higher than I normally do. So it's not that this is wrong if you're strong in that position for sumo, but I simply do not lift like this when it comes to a 1 rep max or when it comes to a rep max test. One thing I didn't mention during the bench press portion of this video, go back and rewatch it and you'll notice that I bench press more symmetrically now than I have probably in the past 2 years. So I think the main contributing factor to this is the fact that I've switched over to hook grip and straps exclusively without using alternate grip at all on deadlifts. So that's something to really consider, is that it might not be an issue with, let's say, uneven pecs or uneven tricep strength or any of those prime movers. It really might be something like the deadlift where that makes your back and traps a little bit uneven. I'm amazed it was that big of an impact. Today I'm going to focus on dumbbell bench and then spoto press before it. For low volume on the spoto press, mostly all the volume is going to be on the dumbbell. You're focusing a little bit more on volume, still doing a bunch of triples, but not singles. And then using the dumbbell bench because that is a bigger range of motion to build some muscle, but I'm not doing any other accessory. So I'm not doing a bunch of isos to where I'm just kind of wasting my time in the gym. The take-home message here is to plan out a few training cycles at a time, at least on principle, what you generally want to do. So you could even rerun, let's say, my 6-week program a few times, and maybe the first time intentionally put front squat, knowing that it won't actually show results that well by week 5. But knowing that then that gives you wiggle room to then go maybe high bar pause squat the second 6-week cycle, then the third 6-week cycle you do high bar unpause squat as an accessory. So that way you're peaking each cycle, but you're also gradually peaking over a 3-month period as well. Also, something I want to add is that when it comes to isolations, as I said there, I think sometimes you can just end up wasting your time, but I do think the higher the frequency, a lot of times it's actually more useful to do isolations, at least for myself on bench. Because if I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and let's say doing very low volume on the competition lift, as obviously you don't want to do things like 6x5 5 days a week. You know, that's just a recipe for injury. But if you are in the gym really often, it does enable you to get in, let's say, 2 sets or 2 exercises for 2 to 3 sets and just get a pump with, let's say, chest fly or even some form of overhead press that's just really light. Like something I like it now is actually doing some snatch grip behind the neck press, but just very light for 15 reps. And I find that's a lot more effective when you're just in the gym very often, so it's not hard to add, and it's just maybe an extra 10 minutes, and you're already in the gym, and your workouts only take maybe 40 minutes. So a lot of times it's really about fitting the context there, and that's the combination I found to work. Whereas if I'm going one bench workout every 3 days, you know, going around twice a week, then you're really not going to see that much carryover at a certain point, especially as a natural lifter, in my opinion. You're really not going to be able to tricep push down your way to a 400-pound bench, at least if you have genetics similar to mine. But of course, that's no excuse. It's all about just finding what works for you and then going to work. You know, I think if anything, I've had to balance the stress overall of making sure I come back properly and then being able to dedicate even the mental energy into getting better with really high frequency. You know, you don't want to just blast everything all at once if mentally there's a lot of overlap in the stress that's going on. So here I'm doing bottom half squats, and this I actually found to be more effective than pause squats for me at this moment, because the pause squat I was kind of forcing to upright, whereas here I can practice the tempo and the confidence of a regular squat. And what I want to do is I want to try to hit 275, which I did there for 3x8. I want to do that for 1x15. So I'll go 2x12 and then 1x15 on the third workout. And then for deadlifts, this is finishing up the volume block. So it's 3x10, 5x5, 3x10, 5x5, 3x7, and 2x5 here with 555 pounds. And that was the entirety of it. 10 rep max next. One last workout. Okay, so the pressure is on for me to get this workout in pretty quickly because one of my headlights actually went off recently. And what's funny is that actually I found in Texas, the cops are a lot nicer, at least in this side of the Houston area, than in Ohio. And I had the worst situation in Ohio because it was really nice, Catholic schools everywhere type of town, but I lived on the street of a police station. So they basically had no purpose other than just to waste taxpayer dollars and then to just give people tickets. So they would just hide in those 25-mile-an-hour zones, and not even during school hours where it's like justified, obviously. And there was one time where I drove to the Cincinnati airport and drove back. So it was an hour-long drive, and I counted 8 people, I think including myself at that time, got pulled over and got a ticket. So luckily I got a warning here actually by a lady cop. But I gotta make sure I don't push that limit. Yeah, to be clear, people do truly drive 5 miles an hour under the speed limit in the place in Ohio where I was at and where my family currently lives. Now, it could be better than over here in some sense, because while it is over-policed, around here, there was a time where I was driving down and it's like 55 miles an hour. I never said this. This happened during the break when I wasn't making videos, and someone was driving the opposite way. So it also was around a corner to where there was no way I could see them. So it was at like 2:30 a.m., which is on me. I shouldn't be driving at 2:30 a.m. around a back road. But yeah, it was going the opposite way. So if I just happened to be in the left lane, there were 2 lanes. If I happened to be in the other lane, I guarantee I would have been dead. So here is some rep work with 270, and this goes really, really smoothly. I was very happy with that. Now you can see here, this is Vernon Williams. So he's someone who I'm training actually for the same meet that I'm doing. So we're both going to be competing, and it's actually pretty interesting because he has a lot of muscle mass, as he is an elite level natural bodybuilder, and we're working on getting his range of motion down a little bit. So he actually already benches with a wide grip. So if someone has a lot of muscle mass and they don't bench with a wide grip, I tend to not force that, because a lot of guys are similar to, let's say, L.S. McLean or even Dennis Sierri, I believe is how you say his last name. And both of them have a pretty big range of motion and are just brutally strong. But Vernon is the perfect candidate to really get this tight style down, because you'd have a habit of his butt coming off the bench. He benches less than me, even though he has way more muscle mass. And he also has great flexibility in his hips and in his spine. He can even get his butt off even if he gets his feet as far back as possible. So there's plenty of wiggle room to work with and a lot of muscle mass to take advantage of. He's also had a pec injury in his past, which only further incentivizes limiting the range of motion. He's a very perceptive person, which helps with more technical lifts. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. We have more time. Here's a 325 single.
Man, fuck a shooting star. Biggie died, they shot a star. Who you know in West LA? Bring that ruckus to MAG.